ईश्वर परम कृष्ण सच्चिदानंद विग्रह अनादिरादिर्गोविंद सर्वकारण कारणम सहस्रपत्र कमलं गोकुलाख्यं महत्पदं तत्कर्णिकारं तद्धामा तदनन्तं ससंभवम् कर्णिकारं महद्यन्त्रं षट्कोणं वज्रकीलकं सदङ्ग सत्पदिस्थानं प्रकृत्या पुरुषेण च प्रेमानंद महानंद रसेनावस्थितं हि यत् ज्योतिरूपेण मनुना कामबीजेन संगतं तत्किञ्जल्कं तदंशानं तत्पत्राणि श्रियामपि चतुरश्रं तत्परितः श्वेतदीपाख्यमद्भुतं चतुरश्रं चतुर्मूर्तेश्चतुर्धाम चतुष्कृतं चतुर्भिः पुरुषार्थैश्च चतुर्भिर्हेतुभिर्वृतं शूलेर्दशभिरानद्धम् ऊर्ध्वदोद्विग्विदिक्ष्वपि अष्टभिर्नितिभिर्जुष्टम् अष्टभिः सिद्धिभिस्तथा मनोरूपैश्च दशभिर्दिक्पालैः परितो वृतं श्यामैर्गौरैश्च रक्तैश्च शुक्लैश्च परशर्दशभैः शोभितं शक्तिभिस्ताभिरद्भुताभिः समन्ततः एवं ज्योतिर्मयो देव सदानंद परात्पर आत्मा रामस्य तस्यास्ति प्रकृत्या न समागमा मायाया राममानस्य न वियोगस्तया सह आत्मना रमया रेमे त्यक्तकालं सुशिक्षया नियति सा रमा देवी तत्प्रिया तद्वशं तदा तल्लिंगं भगवान् शंभुर्ज्योतिरूप सनातन या योनिशा पराशक्ति कामो बीजं महद्धरे लिंगयोनि आत्मिका जाता इमा महेश्वरी प्रजा शक्तिमान पुरुषस्सोऽयं लिंगरूपी महेश्वर तस्मिन्नाविराबुलिंगे महाविष्णुर्जगत्पति सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषा सहस्राक्षा सहस्रपात् सहस्रबाहुर्विश्वात्मा सहस्रांशा सहस्रशु नारायणः स भगवान् आपस्तस्मात् सनातनात् आविरासीत् कारणार्णो निधि शङ्करशनात्मकः योगनिद्रं गतस्तस्मिन् सहस्रांशा स्वयं महान् तद्रोमबीलजालेषु बीजं शङ्करसनस्य च हैमानि अन्दानि जातानि महाभूतावृतानि तु प्रतिअण्डम् एवमेकांशाद् एकांशाद् विशति स्वयं सहस्रमूर्धा विश्वात्मा महाविष्णु सनातनः वामाङ्गात् अस्रजाद् विष्णुं दक्षिणाङ्गात् प्रजापतिं ज्योतिर्लिंगमयं शंभुं कूर्चदेशादवाश्रजात् अहंकारात्मकं विश्वं तस्मादेतत् विजायत अतः तैश्रीविधैर्वेषैर्लीलम् उद्वतः किल योगनिद्रा भगवती तस्य श्रीरिव संगता सितृक्षायं ततो नाभेस्तस्य पद्मं विनिर्ययो तन्नालं हेमनलिनं ब्रह्मणो लोकमद्भुतं तत्त्वानि पूर्वरूढानि कारणानि परस्परं संवाया प्रयोगच्च विभिन्नानि पृथक् पृथक् चिच्चक्त्या सज्जमानोऽथ भगवानादिपुरुषः योजयन्मायया देवो योगनिद्रम् अकल्पयत् योजयित्वा तु तानि एव प्रविवेश स्वयं गुहां प्रविष्टे तस्मिंस्तु जीवात्मा प्रतिबुध्यते स नित्यो नित्यसम्बन्ध प्रकृतिश्च परैवश एवं सर्वात्मसम्बन्धं नाभ्यं पद्मं हरेरभूत् तत्र ब्रह्मा भवद्भूयाश्चतुर्वेदी चतुर्मुख संजातो भगवच्छक्त्या तत्कालं किल चोदिता दृक्षायं मतिं चक्रे पूर्वसंस्कारसंस्कृता ददर्श केवलं ध्वान्तं नान्यत् किमपि सर्वतः उवाचा पुरतस्तस्मै तस्य दिव्य सरस्वती कामकृष्णाय गोविन्दा हे गोपीजन इति अपि वल्लभाया प्रिया वहनेर्मन्त्रं ते दाशयति प्रियं तपस्त्वं तपयेतेन तव सिद्धिर्भविष्यति अथ तेऽपि ससुचिरं प्रीणन् गोविन्दमव्ययं श्वेत्वदीपपतिं कृष्णं गोलोकस्थं परात्परं प्रकृत्या गुणरूपिण्या पर्युपासितं सहस्रदलसम्पन्ने कोटिकिञ्जल्कभ्रमिते भूमिश्चिन्तामणिस्तत्र कर्णिकारे महाशने समासीनं चिदानन्दं ज्योतिरूपं सनातनं शब्दब्रह्ममयं वेणुं वादयन्तं मुखाम्बुजे विलासिनी गणवृतं स्वैर्अंशैरभिष्टुतम् अतः वेणुनिनादस्य त्रयीमूर्तिमयी गति स्फुरन्ति प्रविवेशाशु मुखाब्जानि स्वयंभुव गायत्रीं गायतास्तस्मादधिगत्य सरोजज संस्कृतश्चादिगुणुना द्विजितामगमत्ततः त्रया प्रबुद्धो अथा विद्येर्विज्ञाता तत्त्वसागरा तुष्टाववेदसारेण श्रोत्रेणानेन केशवम् चिन्तामणि प्रकरसद्मशुकल्पवृक्ष लक्षाव्रतेषु सुरभिरभिपालयन्तम् लक्ष्मीसहस्रशतसम्भ्रमसेव्यमानं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि वेणुं क्वानन्तमरविन्ददलायताक्षं बर्हावतं समसिताम्बुदसुन्दराङ्गम् कन्दर्पकोटिकमनीयविशेषशोभां गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आलोलचन्द्रकलसद्वनमाल्यवंशी रत्नाङ्गदं प्रणयकेलिकलाविलासं श्यामं त्रिमङ्गललितं नियतप्रकाशं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अङ्गानि यस्य सकलेन्द्रियवृत्तिमन्ति पश्यन्ति पान्ति कलयन्ति चिरं जगन्ति आनन्दचिन्मयसदुज्ज्वलविग्रहस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अद्वैतमच्युतमनादिमनन्तरूपम् आद्यं पुराणपुरुषं नवयौवनं च वेदेषु दुर्लभमधुर्लभमात्मभक्तो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि पन्तास्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरतापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानां सोऽप्यस्ति यत्प्रपदशिम्न्यविचिन्त्य तत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि एकोऽप्यसौ रचयुतं जगदण्डकोटिं यच्चक्तिरस्ति जगदण्डचयायदन्त अन्दान्तरस्थपरमाणुचयान्तरस्थं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यद्भावभावितधियो मनुजास्तथैव सम्प्राप्य रूपमहिमाशनयानभूषा शुक्तेर्यमेव निगमप्रथितैस्तुवन्ति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयरसप्रतिभाविताभिस्तावीर्य एव निजरूपतया खलाभिः गोलोक एव निवसत्तखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि प्रेमाञ्जनचुरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्त सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणस्वरूपं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि रामादिमूर्तिसुकलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारमकरोद्भुवनेषु किन्तु कृष्ण स्वयं समभवत् परमपुमां यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यस्य प्रभा प्रभवतो कोटिस्वशेषवसुधादिविभूतिभिन्नम् तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमनन्तमशेषभूतं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि माया हि यस्य जगदण्डशतानि सूते त्रैगुण्यतद्विषयवेदवितायमान सत्त्वावलम्बि परसत्त्वं विशुद्धसत्त्वं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आनन्दचिन्मयरसात्मतया मनसु यः प्राणिनां प्रतिफलं स्मरतामुपेत्य लीलायितेन भुवनानि जयत् अजस्रं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि गोलोकनाम्नि निजधाम्नि तले च तस्य देवी महेश हरिधाम सुतेषु तेषु ते प्रभावनिचया विहितश्च येन गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि सृष्टिस्थितिप्रलयसाधनशक्तिरेका छायेव यस्य भुवनानि बिभर्ति दुर्गा इच्छानरूपमपि यस्य च चेष्टतेष गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि क्षीरं यथा दधिविकारविशेषयोगात् संजायते न हि तथा पृथगस्ति हेतो यः सम्भूतामपि तथा समुपैति कार्यात् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि दीपाचिरेव हि दशन्तरमभ्युपेत्य दीपायते विवर्तहेतु समानधर्मा यस्तात्र एव हि च विष्णुतया विभाति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यः कारणार्णवजले भजति स्म योग निद्रामनन्तजगदण्ड सर्वमकूपा आधारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परां स्वमूर्तिं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यस्यैकनिश्वसितकालमतावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोमविलजा जगदण्डनाथा विष्णुर्महान् स हि हयस्य खलाविशेष गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि वस्वान्यतास्म सकलेषु निजेषु तेज स्वीयं कियत् प्रकटयति अपि तद्वत् ब्रह्माय एष जगदण्डविधानकर्ता गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यत्पादपल्लवयुगं विनिधाय कुम्भ द्वन्द्वे प्रणामसमये स गणाधिराजा विघ्नान् विहन्तुमलं यस्य जगत्त्रयस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अग्निर्मही गगनमम्बुमरद्दिशश्च कालास्ततात्ममनसीति जगत्त्रयानि यस्माद्भवन्ति विभवन्ति विशन्ति यं च गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यच्चक्षुरेष सविता सकलग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेष तेजा स्याग्नया भ्रमति संवृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। धर्मोतपापनिजया श्रुतयस्तपांसि ब्रह्मादिकीटपतगावदयश्च जीव यद्धत्तमात्रविभवप्रकटप्रभाव गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्त्व इन्द्रगोपमतवेन्द्रमहो स्वकर्मा बन्धानरूपफलभाजनमातनोति कर्माणि निर्दहति किन्तु च भक्तिभाजां गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यं क्रोधकामसहजा प्रणयादिभीति वात्सल्यमोहगुरुगौरवसेव्यभावै सञ्चिन्त्य तस्य सदृशीं तनुमापुरेते गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। श्रिया कान्ता कान्ता परमपुरुषा कल्पतरवो द्रुमा भूमिश्चिन्तामणि गणमयी तोयममृतम् कथागानं नाट्यं गमनम् अपि वंशी प्रियसखी चिदानन्दं ज्योति परमपि तद् आस्वधयम् अपि च स यत्र क्षीराब्धिस्रवति सुरभिभ्याश्च सुमहान् निमेषार्धकयो वा व्रजति नहि यत्रापि समय भजे श्वेत्वदीपं तमहम् इह गोलोकमितीयं विधन्तस्ते शन्तश्चिति विरलचारकटिपये अथो वाचा महाविष्णुर्भगवन्तं प्रजापतिं ब्रह्मन्महत्त्वविज्ञाने प्रजासर्गे च चेन्मति पञ्चश्लोकीम् इमां विद्यां वत्सधत्तां निबोध मे प्रबुदे ज्ञानभक्तिभ्याम् आत्मनि आनन्दचिन्मयी उदेति अनुत्तमा भक्तिर्भगवत्प्रेमलक्षण प्रमाणैस्तत्सदाचारैस्तदभ्यासैर्निरन्तरम् बोधयन्नात्मनात्मानं भक्तिम् अपि उत्तमं लभेत् यस्य श्रेयस्करं नास्ति यया निवृत्तिमाप्नुयात् या साधयति मामेव भक्तिं तामेव साधयेत् धर्मानन्यान् परित्यज्य मामेकं भज विश्वसन् यादृशी श्रद्धा सिद्धिर्भवति तादृशी कुर्वन्निरन्तरं कर्म लोको अयमनुवर्तते तेनैव कर्मणा ध्यायान् मां परां भक्तिमिच्छति अहं हि विश्वस्य चराचरस्य बीजं प्रदानं प्रकृतिपुमांश्च मया हितं तेज इदं बिभर्षि विधे विधेहि त्वं मतो जगन्ति ईश्वर परम कृष्ण सच्चिदानन्द विग्रह अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दा सर्वकारण कारणम् इति श्री ब्रह्म संहिता सम्पूर्णं हरि ओम्।
Hmm?
There are some viewers, also online viewers.
Uh-huh.
Also, so you can continue the class.
Yeah. I remember Prabhupada's mentioned, nobody's there.
Yeah.
You speak for the full one.
No, generally the Saturday mornings the crowd is somewhat less Saturday mornings, but they come by Saturday. That's the time purposes.
Okay, we don't have connection yet.
Oh, you want a power connection? I can bring one power extension here. Do you want power extension?
Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari
Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Manachari Yamunatira Manachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari 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 Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pariyujkacharya Shtotarashat Sri Sri Madhavaya Charnavinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hare. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, second chapter, text number 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we shall be reading from second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, second chapter, text number 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Pura Dharanaya Atmayone Nashtam Smritim Pratyavarudhya Tushtat Tatha Sasraja Idam Amogadrishti Yatha Apyayat Prag Vyavasaya Buddhi. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Pura Dharanayatmayoni Nashtam Smriti Pratyavarudhya Tushtan Tatha Sasrajedam Amogadrishtir Yatha Vayad Praga Vyavasaya Buddhi. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Pura Dharanayatmayonir Nashtam Smriti Pratyavarudhya Tushtan Tatha Sasrajedam Amogadrishtir Yatha Payat Praga Vyavasaya Buddhi. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Pura Dharanayatmayonir Nashtam Smritim Pratyavarudhya Drishtushtan Tatha Sasarjedam Amogadrishtir Yatha Payat Praga Vyavasaya Buddhi. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Pura Dharanayatmayonir Nashtam Smriti Pratyavarudhya Tushtan Tatha Sasarjedam Amogadrishtin Yatha Payat Prag Vyavasaya Buddhi. Translation. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, Evam, just in the same way, Pura, prior to the manifestation of the cosmos, Dharanaya, by such a conception, Atmayoni, of Brahmaji, Nashtam, lost, Smritim, remembrance, Pratyavarudhya, by regaining consciousness, Tushtan, because of appeasing the Lord, Tatha, thereafter, Sasraja, created, idam, this material world, amoga drishti, one who has attained clear vision, yatha, as, apyayat, created, prag, as formerly, vyavasaya, ascertained, buddhi, intelligence. Translation. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, formerly, prior to the manifestation of cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on the Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The example cited herein of Sri Brahmaji is one of forgetfulness. Brahmaji is the incarnation of one of the mundane attributes of the Lord. Being the incarnation of passion mode of material nature, he is empowered by the Lord to generate the beautiful material manifestation. Yet, due to his being one of the numerous living entities, he is apt to forget the art of his creative energy. This forgetfulness of living being, beginning from Brahma down to the lowest insignificant ant, is the tendency which can be counteracted by meditation on Virat Rupa of the Lord. This chance is available in human form of life, and if human being follows the instructions of Srimad Bhagavatam and begins to meditate upon the Virat Rupa, then revival of his pure consciousness and counteraction of the tendency to forget his eternal relationship with the Lord can follow simultaneously. And as soon as this forgetfulness is removed, the Vyavasaya Buddhi, as mentioned here and in Bhagavad Gita, follows at once. This ascertained knowledge of living being leads to loving service of the Lord, which the living being requires. The kingdom of God is unlimited, therefore the number of assisting hands of Lord is also unlimited. Bhagavad Gita asserts that the Lord has his differentiated parts, his hands, legs, eyes and mouths in every nook and corner of his creation. This means that the expansion of differentiated parts and parcels called jivas or living entities are assisting hands of the Lord, and all of them are meant for rendering a particular pattern of service to the Lord. The conditioned soul, even in the position of Brahma, forgets this by the influence of illusory material energy generated out of false egoism. One can counteract such false egoism by invoking God consciousness. Liberation means getting out of the slumber of forgetfulness and becoming situated in the real loving service of the Lord, as exemplified in the case of Brahma. The service of Brahma is a sample of service in liberation, distinguished from the so-called altruistic service full of mistakes and forgetfulness. Liberation is never inaction, but service without human mistakes. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamischa Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitamishcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate tapta kanchana gaurangi radhe vrindavaneshwari vrishabhanu sute devi pranamami hari priye vancha kalpescha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Shuka Uvacha Evam Pura Dharanayatma Yonir Nashtam Smritim Pratya Varudhyishtushtad Tatha Sasrajedam Amoga Drishti Yatha Payad Praga Vyavasaya Buddhir. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, formerly, prior to manifestation of the cosmos, Lord Brahma, by meditating on Virat Rupa, regained his lost consciousness by appeasing the Lord. Thus he was able to rebuild the creation as it was before. So this is one of the beautiful verse. Second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the Visarga, secondary creation. Secondary creation is done by the Supreme Lord in His incarnation, Guna Avatar, as Lord Brahma, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in this words. Lord Brahma is the incarnation of the mode of passion. Now, towards the end of this purport, Srila Prabhupada makes a beautiful statement. Liberation is never inaction, but service without human mistakes. That's the meaning of liberation. That means, generally we think liberation means stopping of birth, death, old age and disease. No. Many times, even according to Vedic texts, this is considered as the definition of liberation. To stop the repetition of birth, death, old age and disease. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a beautiful incident of Lord Chaitanya delivering Sarvam Bhattacharya. Now Sarvam Bhattacharya, he was a Mayavadi. He was an impersonalist. He was a great scholar of scriptures. In fact, he is incarnation of Brihaspati. So he was a great scholar. And his scholarship, his erudition was such that even the great renunciants would come and take lessons from him. And when Sarvam Bhattacharya, he had, endeavored to explain the Vedanta Sutra to Lord Chaitanya. For 7 days, Lord Chaitanya simply heard from him without uttering a word, without asking any questions. So Sarvam Bhattacharya, he was thinking he's doing a great favor to Lord Chaitanya because he didn't recognize till then that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord. He was thinking he's a young sannyasi. And a person in youthfulness has very strong senses. The senses are very strong and turbulent. So how can a person maintain the sense control if he does not fix his consciousness in Vedanta philosophy, understanding that this world is actually temporary, all the pleasures and pains of this world are temporary. That's what Vedanta Sutra is actually explaining, that we are not this body, but we are, spirit soul. We are Atma. And soul is not anyway, rejoice through the pleasure of the body. In this way, one is cutting off his consciousness from matter. So Sarva Bhattacharya was thinking, if I teach him the Vedanta philosophy, then probably his mind will be fixed up in the reality. And he will be, cut off from the matter or the tendency to sense and joy. Because we should know that, when a young man takes sannyas, especially in Kali Yuga, and especially in today's day and age, this we're talking about 500 years ago, still the culture was very much alive. You won't see women or men mixing so freely, or women roaming half naked, as we see practically all over the world now. The culture being degraded. People had much, much more culture and civilized. Women would never even approach a sannyasi close. They would offer, Lord Chaitanya was offered dandavats or obeisance from even devotee ladies from far off distance. They would never come close to Lord Chaitanya. So Sarva Bhattacharya was thinking, I'm doing favor to Lord Chaitanya. For 7 days he instructed Lord Chaitanya on Vedanta philosophy. And Lord Chaitanya heard it for 7 days without uttering a word. So Sarva Bhattacharya became a little doubtful. Is it that he's really understanding something? When a person is simply sitting silent without asking any question, without asserting yes or no, then you develop doubt. So he developed a doubt whether he's actually understanding. So he asked him, my dear sir, are you understanding what I'm speaking, the Vedanta philosophy? And Lord Chaitanya said, actually speaking, I can't understand anything what you are speaking. He said, then if you don't understand, the natural thing is to ask question. Why didn't you ask question? And Lord Chaitanya said, actually, I can understand the Vedanta verses, the shlokas of the Vedanta Sutra very clearly. They are like the illuminating sun. They don't need any explanation. But your explanations are something that are very confusing. Your explanations are like dark cloud which is covering the sun, brilliant sun of Vedanta Sutra. And this was like a big blow to Sarva Bhattacharya because he was a great scholar. Nobody ever tried or challenged him in this way. Lord Chaitanya was not really challenging him, but he was just humbly telling him. So it was like a big blow. He said, okay, if you understand the Vedanta, then please explain me. And then of course Lord Chaitanya explained Vedanta, and there was a beautiful explanation of Atmaram verse which Lord Chaitanya explained in 18 different ways to Sarva Bhattacharya. First Sarva Bhattacharya explained in 9 different ways, and Lord Chaitanya after that, without touching those 9 explanations of that Atmaram verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, he explained it in 18 different ways. And that actually made Sarva Bhattacharya understand that this person is not an ordinary person. He is the Supreme Lord, Narayan. And then he submitted. And then Lord Chaitanya actually showed him his form. His form as the Supreme Lord. And Sarva Bhattacharya was delivered. Then Sarva Bhattacharya, once he was reciting this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Jiveta yo mukti pade sadhaya bhag, Tattenu kampa susumikshmana bhunjami evatma kritam vipakam hridvag vaburbhi vedadhas namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadhaya bhag. This is one of the verses from 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahmaji speaks the prayers of Lord Brahma after Brahma Vimohan Leela. So, when Sarva Bhattacharya recited this verse, in the last line of the verse, it says, Jiveta yo mukti pade sadhaya bhag. So he changed the word mukti to bhakti. Jiveta yo bhakti pade sadhaya bhag. So Lord Chaitanya said, wait a minute. That verse doesn't say bhakti, but it says mukti pade sadhaya bhag. Why you change the word? in the Bhagavatam. And Sarvabhaumacharya said, well, after, hearing from you the glories of devotional service, the word mukti creates a distaste in my mind. No. Sarvabhaumacharya was an impersonalist. His whole life was nothing but talking about mukti. No. Mukti means liberation. No. So his whole life was talking about liberation. But after receiving the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, he developed repelling towards the word liberation, the word mukti. So Lord Chaitanya said, actually, you don't have to have that repelling towards word mukti. Because what is mukti? Lord Chaitanya quoted another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. He said, mukti hitva anyatha rupam sarupena vyavastihi. What is mukti? Mukti means mukti hitva anyatha rupam. Hitva means to give up or abandon. Abandon what? Anyatha rupam. Anyatha rupam means that is not our constitutional position. Rupa, that does not belong to us. So to identify with this body, that I am this body, is not my reality. It's an artificial reality that we have imposed on ourselves. We identify ourselves with this body. So, to give up this conception that I am this body, hitva anyatha rupam. This bodily concept of life is anyatha rupa. It's not our real rupa. What is our real rupa? Jivera swarupa hai nitya Krishna das. We are eternal servants of Krishna. That is our nitya rupa. Mukti hitva anyatha rupam swarupena vyavastihi. To become situated in swarupa, one's own constitutional position, that is Jivera swarupa hai nitya Krishna das. To become servant of Krishna. So to understand that I am eternal servant of Krishna is actually mukti or liberation. And that's what Prabhupada is saying here. Liberation is never inaction, but service without human mistakes. So when I understand that I am servant of Krishna, service has to be there. No? We cannot live without service. That's our dharma. Our dharma is not Hindu dharma or Muslim dharma or Christian dharma. Our real dharma is service. That's our dharma. Dharayati iti dharma. The Sanskrit dictionary meaning of dharma is not religion. English word religion is a very poor substitute for dharma. It's not real word. Dharma means dharayati. Something that you always have as inseparable part of yours. That is dharma. Dharayati iti dharma. Something that cannot be separated from us at any time. That is dharma. Today I am Hindu, but I can become Muslim tomorrow. Today I am Muslim, I can become Christian tomorrow. So it's not permanent with me. The religion is not permanent. But dharma is something that cannot be separated from us. Prabhupada gives example. Like fire. The burning quality cannot be separated from fire. If it does not burn, it is not fire. Fire means to burn. That's dharma of fire. Dharayati. The fire is always accompanied by the ability to burn. Sugar is always accompanied by the quality of sweetness. If I give some powder, white powder, this is sugar. What is the way you find out it's sugar or not? You taste it. If it is not sweet, you say, this is not sugar. Can be anything else but not sugar. Why? Because sugar means sweet. That cannot be separated from it. So that is dharma. And what is dharma of living entity? As spirit soul, our dharma is to serve. Service we must do. No matter who I am. If I am, an insignificant, ordinary person, I take up some job, I serve some master. No? I am a president of United States, then also I serve. In fact, I get the votes only on basis of promising the service, right? Without service, nobody can sustain, nobody can live. Even if a person who may be millionaire or billionaire doesn't have to serve anyone, he has so many people serving him. But then such a person keeps a dog, takes the dog out, and when the dog, wants to go this way, that way, just follows the dog for the morning walk. And when the dog poops, he has to clean behind it, no matter who he is. So you do service to dog, right? Service we must do. Srila Prabhupada, once he was giving class in 22nd Avenue, and he was talking about this concept of dharma as a service. And that time a person completely intoxicated, he couldn't even stand properly, he came walking in, he was holding some paper toilet rolls. He went inside the toilet, he placed the paper towel rolls and came out, did not sit for the lecture and walked away. Prabhupada said, just see, this person, he's completely intoxicated, doesn't have any sanity of mind. Still, he's rendering some service. He came, he placed some toilet papers in the toilet and went away. He said, this is our dharma. Service we must do. Now it's a different thing. People do service to different categories. Somebody is serving his own body and senses, like a sense gratifier, a hardcore materialist. He's serving for his own mind and senses. Somebody is serving his family. Somebody goes beyond family and tries to serve the community. Like we have sometime in our temple, brahmacharis. They leave aside their family, but they serve the whole community of devotees. Or the community workers, they serve the community. And then we have, nationalists who try to serve the nation. And then there are humanitarians, those who try to serve the human beings. Or animalists, the animal rights people try to go even beyond human boundary and try to serve the animals. And Prabhupada is making here another beautiful statement. He says, the conditioned soul, even in the position of Brahma, forgets this by the influence of illusory material energy generated out of false egoism. One can counteract such false egoism by invoking God consciousness. Liberation means getting out of slumber of forgetfulness and becoming situated in the real loving service of Lord, as exemplified in the case of Brahma. The service of Brahma is a sample of service in liberation, distinguished from the so-called altruistic services full of mistakes and forgetfulness. So, the altruistic services, the so-called social welfare, is full of mistakes. Why it is full of mistakes? Because it is not on the liberation platform. Take a simple example. Some time ago, I'd seen some news. It was, I think, quite a few years ago, when they, I think, started introducing this epidural, right? When the woman is about to give birth to a child, they have this epidural, which generally the so-called way of painless delivery. The woman doesn't experience any pain. So, initially when they introduced this epidurals, it had a lot of side effects. Of course, they have developed over a period of time, which also has still side effects. At the later age, of course, not immediate. But some woman used the epidural and later on she developed a breast cancer. And the doctors could relate to it that it was having its roots in epidural. So she filed a lawsuit against the epidural drug company. Now the drug company was promising, here is something we are offering you to experience painless delivery. You're trying to do some good, right? Of course, that's a different thing. Their consciousness may not be same. But even if it is done in the so-called welfare point of view, that okay, we are offering you this to not experience any pain. In return, you only have lawsuit, right? Because that service is not on the liberation platform. The service is on the bodily platform. You have some pain, here is some pain relief. We are here to serve you, to relieve you from the pain. Not realizing that this body is meant to give pain to us. Idam shariram vyadhi mandiram. No. Ayurveda says, this body is mandir, it is temple. Temple of vyadhi, diseases. That means in this body, the diseases always develop. Even if you are having perfect diet, everything perfect, very regulated life, someday in the morning you get up, you start sneezing. You see so much pain in the body. Why? Because the body gives pain without any reason. No. So any good done on the bodily platform is bound to backfire because that is not on the liberation platform. No. The service is full of human errors. To error is human, right? We say. To error is human. So, whenever we do service to our own self, to our family, to our community, to our society, it only backfires if it is not centered, keeping Krishna, a God, in the center. If it is not on the liberation platform. Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful example, which is actually a very graphic example people should learn a lesson from. Prabhupada says, Mahatma Gandhi, he was a nationalist. He did his whole life dedicated for the service to the nation. Right? We don't find practically in any nation such a example of dedication. He dedicated his whole life. He was practically living like a beggar, wearing one small dhoti which he would stitch himself. He will weave himself that dhoti and wear that. Pretty much renounced. And he was serving the nation, fighting for the so-called independence of the nation. Prabhupada says, was he really happy after the independence? Look into the history of India. He was the most miserable person after the independence, so-called independence. Most miserable person in the country. Just imagine, whole life you are dedicating, fighting for something, and when you get it, it causes you so much misery. He was so disgusted with people of his own country, the politicians and everyone in the nation, people fighting in the name of Hindu and Muslim. He was just disgusted with his own country people. And not only he was disgusted, people of the country were more disgusted with him. To the extent that one of them actually killed him. He didn't want to see him alive. Just imagine. All the service is completely forgotten. So much displeasure in the service. We have to do service. We cannot live without service. But service is causing frustration. Even if it is such a selfless service, it's causing frustration. So, service which is not on the liberation platform, which is not done keeping ourselves understanding that we are part of Krishna, we are eternal servants of Krishna, keeping Krishna in the center. Such a service is bound to create frustration without fail. 100% frustration is guaranteed. So, service we have to do, but service on the liberated platform is something that we are working towards. Now let's try to understand how we can attain that platform of liberation, service on liberated platform. Srila Prabhupada in the purport, He says, the example cited herein of Brahmaji is one of forgetfulness. So it's, first of all, we should understand it's not only me who's forgetful. Even such a great personality as Brahma, who's called Swayambhu, who's born from the body of the Lord directly without any mother, even he is forgetful. So there's nothing to feel sad about being forgetful. No. Prabhupada says, in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says to Arjuna, Bahuni me vatitani janmani tavacha Arjuna tan aham veta sarvani natam veta parantapa. My dear Arjuna, many, many births you and I have spent in this world. That means we both are born in this world many, many times. Tan aham veta sarvani. I can remember all of them. Natvam. But you cannot, Arjuna. So even Arjuna is forgetful. No. And Brahma is also forgetful. Because that's the nature of living entity. To be forgetful. Living entity forgets. For example, if I ask you, what did you eat yesterday in the breakfast? Oh, what did I eat? You have to think for a while. If I ask you, okay, what did you eat a day before yesterday? You have to think for a longer time. If I ask you, what did you eat last Saturday in the breakfast? Probably you have to think a little more and you may not even remember. If I ask you, what did you eat on 12th of October in 2012? You think for the rest of your life, you'll still won't remember, right? Because we forget, right? Many times people ask this question, if we are not this body, we are spirit, soul, and the soul transmigrates from one body to another body, then why don't I remember who I was in my previous body? No? Because soul forgets. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, this body is like a garment, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunhanti naro aparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. This body is like a garment. Just like our garment, our shirt is torn. We throw it and we accept a new shirt. It's very interesting actually. If you try to remember what different colors, different shades, different designs of shirts you have worn, can you remember all of them in this lifetime? You might have a picture, 5 years ago in a particular shirt, and that shirt is no more with you. You say, that shirt was so beautiful I had. It's no more. It's gone, but you don't remember. Can we remember all the shirts that we have worn in our whole life? No, we forget. So we are forgetful. No. But this forgetfulness of living being, Prabhupada says, beginning from Brahma down to the lowest insignificant ant, is a tendency which can be counteracted by meditation. Meditation on the Supreme Lord. So if we remember Krishna, we don't have to remember anything else. If we simply try to remember Krishna more and more, our forgetfulness is counteracted. Why? Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. I am the one who provides smriti, the remembrance, jnanam, the knowledge, and apohanam, even forgetfulness. All the three things are very important, not just remembrance. Because sometimes you go through experiences in life which you want to forget. If you don't forget, you go insane, right? So forgetfulness is also important. And some people who cannot forget something that was tragic in their life, they go insane. They land up in asylum, right? Because Krishna doesn't allow them to forget. Krishna says, I provide forgetfulness. If Krishna refuses to give them forgetfulness, they cannot forget. And that's what makes them insane. I've seen some devotee who went through some bitter experiences with some other devotee. And till this day, maybe this was almost like 8 or 9 years ago, till this day, if you speak the name of the devotee whom he went through bad experience, he flares up. He flares up, he goes practically like a mad person. And everybody thinks, oh, he needs some help. He needs some help from some psychiatrist. Why? Because he's not able to forget. So remembrance, forgetfulness and knowledge is provided by Krishna. So Prabhupada says if we simply meditate on Krishna, we can actually counteract this forgetfulness. The conditioned soul, even in the position of Brahma, forgets his constitutional position by the influence of material nature. Because material nature is explained, it has mainly two functions. To cover the living entity, to throw the living entity in this material existence, and to cover him. Cover him means mainly make him forgetful. Forgetful of his constitutional position as servant of Krishna. And one can counteract this forgetfulness, this influence of Maya or material nature, simply by invoking Krishna consciousness, by remembering Krishna. And that is liberation, the remembrance of Krishna. And situated in that remembrance, we do our day-to-day duties, our service, is actually liberation. Liberation is not some supernatural or some position where we have a lot of mystic powers, we can do whatever we want. No. Liberation means you are able to remember Krishna and execute your duties. Liberation means getting out of the slumber of forgetfulness, Prabhupada says, and becoming situated in real loving service of the Lord. That's liberation. Attaining all other things, maybe some mystic powers where you can do whatever you want, you can fly in the sky without airplane, you can travel to different planets, Anima, Laghima, Prapti, Ishita, all these different siddhis attained by the yogis, they are nothing but diversions, different diversions, which are diverting a person from the real path, the real purpose of life. That is to be situated in the service, loving service of the Lord. So service of Brahma is a sample of liberation, liberated service. Now, when we say service without human error, Prabhupada says liberation means service without human error. What is service without human error? To error is human. Human beings do commit mistakes. So, human mistakes can be eradicated by being obedient to Krishna. Brahma, in the beginning when he was looking for who he is, what he is, he heard two words, ta and pa. And hearing these two words, tapa, he simply followed the instructions of the Lord. He became obedient to Krishna. And he attained perfection. Krishna's instruction was tapa. You perform tapasya, you perform austerity. And he performed austerities. And he was enlightened. He could understand what is the goal of his life, why he has been created. He has been created to create the 14 planetary systems. And he executed that service nicely. So we should know that all the Vedic texts, they are nothing but Krishna's instructions on how to do the things that we do, when to do the things, and where to do everything that we do in our life. How, when, and where. Because Vedic text is full of many times some contradictory statements. Many times you'll come across the statements which appear to be contradictory. They're not really contradictory. A person who has understanding of the highest principle, he can understand the significance of all those contradictory statements. Like in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is making this statement, Hitve tam atatayinam. Krishna, even killing such aggressors is sinful. Now Prabhupada explains in that purport, aggressors means a person, 6 kinds of aggressor Prabhupada mentioned. There are people who set the fire on your home, who try to poison you, who take away your wealth, who try to, kidnap your wife. In this way there are 6 kinds of aggressors. And Niti Shastra says, if you kill the aggressor, there is no sinful reaction. You are not bound by sins, or you are not even liable to be punished by the law of state, according to Manu Samhita. No? So, that's the law. You can kill the aggressor. But Arjuna is saying, killing such aggressors is sinful. Because according to Dharma Shastra, one should not kill one's own relatives. Now, what if a relative becomes an aggressor? Dharma Shastra says you should not kill a relative. And Niti Shastra said you should kill an aggressor. So when a relative becomes an aggressor, like in this case, Duryodhana was a relative. He was brother of Pandavas, cousin brother of Pandavas. If he becomes an aggressor, he tried to poison Bhima, he tried to burn the home of Pandavas, tried to burn them alive in their home, he tried to disrobe their wife, he took away their kingdom by cheating. He did practically all the 6 aggressions towards the Pandavas. So what to do when a relative becomes an aggressor? In such a case, the Shastras are divided into 3 categories. Niti Shastra, Dharma Shastra and Adhyatma Shastra. And they have a hierarchy. Whatever instructions in Niti Shastra are there, they are superseded or overridden by Dharma Shastra. So whenever there is a clash between the 2 instructions in Niti and Dharma Shastra statement takes more precedence. So Dharma Shastra says one should not kill the relative. Even if a relative becomes aggressor, you should not kill him. That injunction remains intact. But a person who knows Adhyatma Shastra, that is, satisfying Krishna is the prime goal, that statement takes precedence over all other statements. Adhyatma. Adhyatma means spiritual. So there are spiritual scriptures, there are religious scriptures, and there are scriptures of diplomacy. Niti means diplomacy, Dharma means religiousness, and Adhyatma means spiritual. Adhyatma. Adhyatma. Like Krishna says, Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. Like in 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you'll find Adhyatma. A-D-H-Y-A-T-M-A. Adhyatma. Adhyatma. So Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. So Adhyatma, scriptures, they take precedence. They're on the top. So, all the Vedic texts, they are nothing but Krishna's instructions to us. How to do, when to do, where to do the things in our life. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a beautiful incident. There was one devotee. His name was Vallabha Bhatt. So Vallabha Bhatt, when he came to Nilachala, Jagannath Puri, he was introduced by Lord Chaitanya to all his devotees like Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, Sarup Damodar, Jagadanand, and all these illustrious devotees of Lord Chaitanya, who were like brilliant moons, the illuminating moons or sun. And among them, Vallabha Bhatt, when he saw the glories and effulgence of all these devotees, he felt himself like a glowworm. He was feeling some inferiority complex. And he wanted to establish himself. He wanted to show. Sometimes, a person who is very much affected by this inferiority complex, he wants to prove himself. So Vallabha Bhatt wanted to actually prove himself amongst the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. So very often he would come. He would come and unnecessarily argue with the devotees. No. So one time he came and he told the devotees that you people chant Hare Krishna. And scriptures explain Krishna is our husband. Living entity is like wife, is the energy of Krishna. So we are like wife and Krishna is our husband. And according to Vedic custom, a wife is not supposed to utter the name of the husband. No, that's a Vedic culture. Vedic culture is wife doesn't utter the name of the husband. No. It's considered disrespectful, and it's also considered reducing the lifespan of the husband. No? It's okay. So, he said, wife, we are like wife, we are not supposed to utter the name of the Supreme Lord. So Advaita Acharya, he said, here is the Supreme Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is sitting, he is the epitome of all the etiquettes and rules and regulation in the scriptures. He perfectly follows them. You should put this question to him. And Lord Chaitanya said, looking at Vallabha, he said, my dear Vallabha, but you don't know what the real religious principles are. The first and foremost duty of a wife is to execute the order of the husband. And Krishna has himself given instruction to chant his holy names. So a chaste and faithful wife will always chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's a chastity of a living entity as a wife. No? So similarly, sometimes people will bring forth some similar arguments. Those who don't understand the scriptural rules and regulation and who are driven by some complex, superiority or inferiority complex, they will put forward such arguments, just to establish themselves. So whenever we hear such statements, we should know that a person is simply afflicted by Maya or material nature. Therefore, he is putting forward such arguments. Now, if we want to do service without human errors, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhaktyaloka suggests that we can do that service. In fact, he makes a beautiful statement. He says, a devotee can serve, advance, and practice Krishna consciousness. That means serve in Krishna consciousness, advance in Krishna consciousness, and practice Krishna consciousness very efficiently in the realm of Varnashram, following the rules and regulation of Varnashram. So what is Varnashram? Varnashram is nothing but division of society in 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. So when the society is divided in that way, and everybody plays their role according to what situation one is in, there a person can actually advance in Krishna consciousness much more efficiently. Because see, this is the day and age where we talk a lot about efficiency. Right? We want to be efficient. In everything we do, we want to be efficient. So, even if you want to be efficient in Krishna consciousness, Varnashram is a way by which one can actually advance in Krishna consciousness very rapidly. And serve most efficiently. Now when we say the division of society in 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, Prabhupada makes it very clear that no one is higher or lower. You don't think that, Brahmanas are higher and Shudras are lower. No. Prabhupada gives an example. It's like, it's a body of the society. Like in our human body, we have head, we have hands, we have stomach, we have legs. So head is, even according to medical science, we know head is the one who rules. who practically tells every limb of the body what to do. Right? And arms are the ones which protect. If anyone tries to attack or tries to, harm our body, we protect through our arms, our hands. Right? Stomach is the one which supplies energy to the whole body. Food goes to the stomach, and stomach digests and supplies to the energy to the whole body. And legs do the menial job of carrying the whole body wherever the body wants to go, wherever the head instructs. Right? So, in this way, similarly, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras, they are also nothing but the different limbs of the social body. So Brahmanas are like head. They are the one who instruct the society. Kshatriyas, they rule as per the instructions of the Brahmanas. Vaishyas and Shudras, they live as per the guidance given by the Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. So in this way the society functions. Now of course we should know that Brahmanas are also not independent. They give instructions precisely as per the scriptural rules and regulations. They are not supposed to be whimsical. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that who's a Brahmana? Who's a Brahmana? Shamo dama tapa shaucham shantir arjama evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma subhavajam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, who's a Brahmana? Shamo. Shama means peacefulness. Dama means self-controlled. Similarly, tapa, he's austere. A Brahmana is supposed to be austere. Shaucham, he's supposed to be pure and clean. Shantir, he's supposed to be tolerant. Arjavam, honest. Jnana, he's supposed to be learned. Vijnana, he's supposed to be wise. Where to apply jnana. Simple learning, simply doing PhD or big degree is not really Brahmana. Brahmana means jnana and vijnana. And astikyam. Astikyam means who believes in God. Religious-minded person. That's Brahmana. Brahma karma subhavajam. That's the swabhava. That's the nature of a Brahmana. Now, of course, we can go on all these qualities, but I'll just try to focus on, because Varnashram, when we're talking about Varnashram, is the way of service and liberation. The two things which are very important in the Brahmanical culture are jnana and vijnana. A Brahmana is supposed to be learned and wise. This is actually very important. Now, what is the meaning of, try to understand through example, what is the meaning of jnana and vijnana? It can be understood through one anecdote. There was one Brahmana. He was an astrologer, very good astrologer. So he was in the court of a king. And he would always precisely predict everything. The king was so much happy and relying on him. So one of the ministers, who was actually very inimical and very crooked as well, he told the king, actually, my dear king, you are unnecessarily too much relying on this astrologer. I can prove, if you give me abhayadan, that means if you assure me that I will not get any punishment, I can prove that this astrologer is wrong. King said, all right, prove that he's wrong. So one day in the court, in the middle of the court, this crooked minister, he went to the Brahmana, this astrologer. He said, my dear sir, I want to know how long you are supposed to live. And the Brahmana said, well, according to my chart, I'm supposed to live another 20 years. He immediately took out the sword and chopped off his head. Killed him. And he said, my dear king, see? He was saying he's supposed to live 20 years. But he's dead now. So actually you unnecessarily rely too much on astrologers. You shouldn't be relying on them. Now this person, this Brahmana's son, was also trained as an astrologer. But he was very wise, very intelligent. So he came to me, he said, my dear king, actually, I can take the service of my father. So king, he accepted, okay, no problem. So this crooked minister, he tried the same trick. He said, he told the king, I'll prove that he is also wrong. King said, all right, I give you freedom, prove that it's wrong. So he went to the boy, asked him same question in front of the king. Tell me how long you're supposed to live. He said, according to my chart, I will die 3 days before the king dies. Oops. Now minister cannot do that. Same thing to him. That means I'm going to die 3 days before the king. If I die, within 3 days king has to die. Right? So the minister was taken back. So, jnana is not alone important in a Brahmana's life. Vijnana, the practical application of that knowledge, is also very, very important. And that's what actually a Brahmana sees. In today's day and age, our whole education system is based on dumping information on people. School or college, the only thing we do is dump information on children, right? Dump more and more information, and anyone and everyone can do PhD. But that was not the system of education in Vedic times. That's not the system of education in Varnasrama. To cite an example, we have the graphic example of this in Mahabharata. Now, in Mahabharata, Dronacharya, he was teaching martial art. He was a martial teacher. He was a Brahmana and he was expert in martial art. So he was teaching the art of fighting. Fighting through club, fighting through swords, fighting through spears, fighting through bow and arrow. Different ways. So, one of these forest dwellers, Shabara, his name was Ekalavya, he approached Dronacharya. And he said, my dear Brahmana, I also want to learn archery. And Dronacharya told him, no, you're not fit to learn archery. Now people who hear this incident from Mahabharata, especially in India, they think actually Dronacharya was partial. But Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur gives a beautiful commentary in this whole episode. So Dronacharya told Ekalavya that you are not fit to learn this art, therefore you should go back. And Ekalavya, hiding from the bushes, he would see Dronacharya imparting the lessons and he would learn. He would learn the archery and he learned so well. In fact, according to Mahabharata, he became even better than Arjuna. And then he exhibited that by sealing the mouth of the dog. And when Dronacharya realized it, oh, there is someone better than Arjuna. It's not that he was thinking better than Arjuna. He wanted to find out who is that person who has done this amazing job. And when Ekalavya said, I did it and you are my guru, I have been seeing you imparting these lessons from bushes and that's how I learned. So, Dronacharya said, all right, if you consider me as your guru, then you're supposed to give Guru Dakshina, supposed to give me charity in return for your education. He said, yes, I'm willing to give any charity. He said, give me the thumb from your right hand. Because archery, that's how you hold the arrow. With the thumb and the index finger. You hold the arrow behind. Without thumb, you cannot use archery. So he said, I want the thumb of your right hand. And Ekalavya immediately cut off his thumb and gave it to Dronacharya. And people think Ekalavya was Guru Bhakta. He was so dedicated to his Guru. But Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur gives a different perspective. He says, Ekalavya was actually an impostor. He was not a Guru Bhakta. He was making a show of Guru Bhakti. If he was really Guru Bhakta, he was really dedicated to his Guru, when his Guru told him, "You are not fit to learn," he would have accepted it. No, he would have accepted it. No. So he was just an imposter. Now people think, why Dronacharya has to do partiality in this way? But Brahmanas' duty was not just to teach the skills. Because skill can be learned by anyone. It's a skill, right? It's after all a skill. Any person who has sharp mind and presence of mind, he can learn the skills. Like driving is a skill. Or similarly, kinds of skills in this world. You can learn the skills. Like this Mataji is making garland, that's also a skill. To make a beautiful garland is a skill. To make an earthen pot from the clay is a skill. To make a nuclear bomb is a skill. But Brahmana's duty was to impart the skills to right people. They were responsible for that, knowing that who will utilize that skill properly. Now here is a forest dweller, Shabara. Why he needs to learn archery? No. For hunting animals? No, you don't need archery. They are trained anyway in bow and arrow and shooting animals by their parents, by their father. Hunters are taught by their parents. They don't need to go to learn archery, to learn celestial weapons, casting the celestial weapons. No. That is required for administrators. No. And if a person who does not have wisdom how to use the skills, he will eventually misuse those skills. Like, Dr. Oppenheimer, he invented nuclear energy, right? What did American politicians do with it? They created bombs out of it. He didn't have intentions of making bombs. He was thinking, this is a cheap way of getting energy. We can have cheap way of generating electricity. No? And when he opposed, they put him in asylum. He's gone mad. Right? Yeah. Dr. Oppenheimer was declared as mad, because he was opposing the politicians. Don't do this. This is not the purpose why I invented this energy. No? So Brahmana's duty was make sure you don't give any knowledge or any wisdom or skills to anyone who will have a potential misuse of it. No? And by the dint of that nuclear energy, America is like now terrorist country, right? They can terrorize anyone, practically, right? Every nation is obliged to listen to them, whether they do right or wrong, right? So Brahmana's duty was actually to part the skills to right people, not to anyone and everyone. That was the importance of Brahmanical culture. And along with this, the Brahmana is one who is capable of guiding people, especially including administrators, to help the society progress towards the ultimate goal of life, which is to attain going back home, back to Godhead, to attain Krishna consciousness. And in general, such Brahmanas would not only be learned and wise, but they would be expert in some of the Vedic sciences. Vedic sciences like, say, Ayurveda is a Vedic science. It's a science of Ayu, how to enhance or how to increase your Ayu or age. Ayurveda. So they are learned in Ayurveda. They are learned in Shilpa Shastra. Shilpa Shastra means architecture. Like who's Vishwakarma? Vishwakarma is an architect of demigods. He's a Brahmana. So a person who is expert in Vastu or Shilpa Shastra, he's a Brahmana of Shilpa Shastra. Similarly, there is astrology. Astrology is another science of the Vedas. So Brahmanas are supposed to be expert in certain sciences and guide the society, and especially guide the administrators. Now take, for example, astrology. What astrology can do or help to do the administration of the society. A Brahmana who's learned in astrology, who's really learned in astrology, can actually help solve so many problems that we face all over the world now. Take a simple example. What is the divorce rate in America? Just in America, forget about the world. In America, 65% marriages finished within first 3 years. First 3 years of marriage. 65%. That means almost 6 to 7 marriages out of 10 end up in divorce in first 3 years. And as you proceed 5 and 10 years, the statistic goes almost up to 90-95%. That means almost 9 marriages out of 10 finished, end up in divorce. And what does that do to the society? It creates so much instability in so many families. People have accepted it, oh, that's way of life, Divorce, go to another person. Divorce, go to another person. But what does it do to your mindset? So much unstable in relationships. So much instability creates in the mindset. And forget about instability in the mindset of adults. What happens to children? I know. I moved from East Coast just last month. Not actually this month, beginning of this month, just a week or 10 days ago. And I know how disrupt the children's mindset is when you're just moving from one place to another place. What to speak when the parents break? It actually disrupts complete orientation of the mindset of so many people. The man, the woman, the children. And it actually gives birth to Varnasrama, unwanted population. The mother is feeling frustrated, doesn't want to have, not able to take care of children, she is frustrated. Father feels frustrated, and children feel that they are unwanted. They are not really wanted in their lives. They feel unwanted. And that actually creates so much social problem. If you take all the criminals who will end up in the jail, most of them, they have such backgrounds, broken families, no training in the family, no love and care, affection given to them. And administrators, they are scratching their heads. What's wrong? Why so much crime rate? Increasing. Now, what to speak of society in general, even in our own Krishna conscious society, within our ISKCON society, there are so many divorces. I'm not talking about even in America, I'm talking even in India. In India, where we have much more social pressure and marriages are arranged by devotees, I've seen devotees arrange marriage, not love marriage, and still there's divorce. So much high rate of divorce. Now this problem can be solved simply by taking help from astrology. Because in Vedic culture, whenever there would be a marriage, there used to be matching of the horoscope of man and woman. And only if there is certain harmony indicated in their charts, like here in America is a trend. Girl and boy, they stay together. Try 6 months. Let's see how our nature is, whether we are matching our nature. That's all whimsical. They live for 6 months or 1 year and they get married, and again after 6 months they divorce. That's all speculation. It's not the right way. Because you're trying to see through your whimsical mind. So 6 months, 1 year may go good. But through Vedic astrology is called Jyotisha. Jyoti-isha. Jyoti means light. And just imagine if there is no light. If it's night time and there is no light, artificial light, can your eyes see anything? No. Our eyes cannot see until unless there is light. So, Jyoti or light is considered the eyes of the Lord. Jyoti Isha. That's called Jyotish. It's the eye of the Lord. And we can see only when the eye of the Lord is present. Jyotish. Then we can see right thing. We don't see through our whimsical mind or polluted intelligence. We see through the eyes of the Lord. So Jyotish is actually the science by which you see what is the potential of harmony between such alliance. And even if the girl and boy, they don't know each other, you will see that they actually live in harmony for the rest of their life. Even if there is friction, not that friction will not be there. No. To think that, if we have perfectly aligned horoscope, then there will be no fights. No. Whenever there are two vessels, they will make noise together. Right? In fact, I remember in Vrindavan there was one boy and girl, they were getting married. So they were going for some counseling with Krishnanandani Mataji, and they said, if you go through the counseling, you will never fight. And there were few Grahastha couples who were sitting there. And when they said, when you go through this counseling, you will never fight in married life, everybody started laughing. They said, all the best. Because that's not going to happen, Whenever there are two people, they always, difference of opinion will be there. But through marriage alliance in astrology, you are assured that they will be able to tolerate each other. Difference of opinion, quarrel, fights, they'll be able to live through that. They will not create disturbance in the society by breaking apart. And Srila Prabhupada actually has so many quotes. We'll go through toward the end, what Prabhupada actually insisted that all the marriages within our society should be done by matching of the horoscopes. Prabhupada was insisting. There are quite a few quotes of Srila Prabhupada in this regard. So that's one Vedic science, astrology. In fact, Brihat Samhita, there's a beautiful statement. It says, 100 Akshoni divisions. Just imagine, there were only 18 Akshoni divisions on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Brihat Samhita says, 100 Akshoni divisions of soldiers cannot do for a king, one accomplished astrologer can do. So if the king has one good astrologer in his court, he can accomplish a lot for the king. Because he provides the eyes of the Lord to the king. And if you go into the history, if you see the history of Alexander, Napoleon, all these conquerors, if you go and look into the history, all of them, they had a good palmist or good astrologer in their court who would help them to recruit a person or head of the army, the commanders of the armies. They would recruit simply by looking at the palm or the horoscope of the person. You know who is going to be actually a good commander. And commander is actually someone who is capable of leading the army to success. So they all had that. The good commanders in their armies. In Indian history, if you see, in the Mughals ruled almost for 800 years, the land of India. And they had so many different kings in the Mughal dynasty. But one particular king is most famous among the Mughal dynasty, which was loved by even Hindus. And who was that? Akbar, right? Akbar was a king who ruled the India very successfully. He was like an emperor. He is the one who established actually the Mughal dynasty ruling India. But he was loved by everyone. Why? Because he had 9 counselors in his court who were all Brahmanas. He was a Muslim himself, but he had 9 Brahmanas as his advisors. one of which we know, right? Birbal is very famous. No? So he had 9 Brahmanas, they're called Navaratnas, he had in the court, who were all Brahmanas. He was a staunch follower of Brahmanical culture. Though he was a Muslim, but he would always take the advice from Brahmanas. That's how he became successful. Yeah. So that's actually Brahmanical culture. Simply following the advice of Brahmanas. Another science, for example, is Vastu. Vastu or Shilpa Shastra is a science of building. So what is actually really Vastu Shastra? Vastu Shastra is nothing but building your home in compliance with the instructions of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada actually made one statement once. He said, you cannot go back home, back to Godhead, until unless you become 100% obedient to Krishna. We had to be 100% obedient to God. Then only we can go to Him. We can go to His abode. So what is the meaning of becoming 100% obedient? That means, even though I like this girl, or I like this man, the girl, in the case of girl, she thinks, I like this man, I want to get married to him. You see through the eyes of the Lord whether this will work or not. If it's not going to work, why to even go in that direction? Right? Why to invite the misery? Similarly, building a home, or say building a temple, or building a community was done as per the Shilpa Shastra, Vastu Shilpa Shastra. In Matsya Purana, there is a history of how this Vastu Shilpa Shastra was inaugurated. So Lord Shiva created, a demon was produced from the body of Lord Shiva. He was very huge and he was very hungry. He had a great appetite. So he went to the heavenly abodes. He was eating practically everyone. Demigods, their abodes, everything he was eating. He was so hungry. So all the demigods, seeing his atrocities, they threw him from the sky. And he came falling down to the earth. He fell on the earth. And as he fell on the earth, all the demigods, they jumped over him on the different parts of the world. He actually fell with his face down. He fell on the ground with his stomach and face towards the ground. So, and all the demigods sat on his body to keep him down only, not to make him rise. And he was hungry. He was still feeling hungry. He started pleading to Lord Brahma, who was sitting on his back. He said, my dear Brahma, you are Prajapati, please give me also some place to sit. Why you people are harassing me in this way? I am hungry, I want to eat something. So Brahma said, all right, you stay on the earth only. I give you this place to stay. And the food for you will be supplied by all the people of earth. Whenever people on the earth build any home, any building, any village or city development happens, they will offer you oblations. They would offer you some food. And those people who don't offer you food, when they construct their home or community or village or town, you can eat their home, you can eat them, you can eat everything that they possess. That will be your oblation, that will be your food. So Lord Brahma gave the benediction to this demon. And this demon later on became known as Vastu Purusha. So therefore you see in the Vastu Purusha, Vastu Mandala, they always draw a Vastu Purusha, having his head towards northeast. That's how he lies down on the earth. So according to Lord Brahma's benediction, this person has benediction if a person or anyone who's building a home, temple, community, whatever, if you don't offer the oblations to him, he is entitled to eat everything. Entitled to eat home, owners, everyone. And eating means literally destroying. When you eat something that gets destroyed, right? It is finished. So that's what he's entitled to. So many times, I hear some comments from them, some devotees or even, learned people say, there's no need of all of this. We are devotees, We don't have to really worry about all this. We are worshipping Krishna, that's enough, which is actually true. There's nothing wrong. But let's try to understand it from the practical point of view. Who does not have to worry for all these things? It's only a person who is 100% in the shelter of Krishna. That means, no matter what happens in my life, I really don't care. My only job is to remember the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, and that's enough for me. Just like Madhavendra Puri says, Smaram agam harami. I can destroy all my sins simply remembering the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is the Yadukulottama, who is the best of the Yadus. I can simply remember him, and I don't need to be obliged to anyone. If you are on that platform, yes, there is no need. But we have to really put a question, are we on that platform? If we are not, then we are obliged. We do have obligations. No? What is our obligation? Take a simple example. Suppose you are a devotee. You are practicing Krishna consciousness. You buy a piece of land somewhere in the city or in the town. And if you are buying the piece of land, you have own money, white money, not even black money. Can you start building your home on the land right away? Can you? Your own land, you have your own money, you can hire people and start building the home. If you do, without going through the formality of, say, taking blessings from the county's municipal office, sanctioning your plan through them, can you successfully go ahead with building a home? No. You may say, well, I am devotee, I am under shelter of Krishna, why I should be having trouble? I will go ahead and build the home. Try out. The municipal people will come and destroy your home. Right? They will destroy your home and no consideration. And you will be wondering, oh, why is it? Why didn't Krishna protect me? And then you may turn into atheist. Say, Krishna is not there only, he didn't protect me. No, because you didn't do the right thing. Right? So, though we may be practicing Krishna consciousness, we still have to pay the token of respect, not worship. When you go to municipal office, you don't really worship, offer the aarti to the person. No. You're not worshipping him. You are paying him respects. You have the position. Here is my plan. Sir, please. Sir, please give us blessings so that we can go ahead and build our home without any hindrance from you. So similarly, what is Vastu science? You take the blessings from the person. Give him his share. Okay, Brahma has given him blessing, so here's your share. At the beginning of your construction, you offer him some share. At the time of inauguration of your building, you offer him some share. That's it. You're not worshipping any demigods. Your business is done. You provided, you finished your obligation. And then you don't get trouble from them. Now, it doesn't mean that if you follow these Vedic sciences like astrology, Vastu or Ayurveda, this world becomes Sukhalayam. No. This world will still remain Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. This world is still temporary. This world is still full of miseries. Miseries will still come in our lives as per our karma. No? But the only thing is we are not increasing it by our own karma. If you don't do the right thing in life, you are inviting more karma. You are inviting more trouble in your life. So following these sciences like Vastu or astrology, it actually creates minimum trouble in our life. We are not inviting trouble. I'll just give you an example because I lived for 10 years in New Vrindavan. Now New Vrindavan is a beautiful, mountaineer area, and where the temple is actually, according to Vastu, it's best natural Vastu situation. It has a nice northeast sloping, which is desirable according to Vastu. It has a river flowing in the northeast, which is excellent as per the Vastu principles. But the whole place is developed in such a way to create more and more chaos, especially in terms of administration. So administration there is always chaotic because the whole place is developed in such a way. The person, whoever developed it, didn't have the knowledge of Vastu principle, didn't care about the knowledge of Vastu principles, and therefore the whole place is developed. It's a service. Whoever did it, devotees did it together as a loving offering to Srila Prabhupada and to Radha Vrindavan Chandra there. But that service was full of human error. It was developed with human errors. So, Prabhupada says here, liberation means service without human errors. When you follow these signs, you actually offer whatever service you are offering, you offer without or with minimum human error. That means you're getting closer to this platform of liberation. Or, yes, Prabhu? Yeah, you'll have time for question, but you can ask whatever you have. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sometimes people raise this thing, well, if you don't, it's an objection to reincarnation and the logic that, well, we're here for education, we're being educated in this material world and we learn what we need to know, then we can go back to the spiritual world. The objection will be that, well, you don't remember from one life to the next, so where's the education? If there's no remembering, memory, if you forget what you experienced in your last life, then where's the question of education? It doesn't seem pointless.
That's a very good question. When we talk about education, we're talking about material education. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Swalpam api yasya dharmasya trayataya mahato bhayat. Even a little advancement in Krishna consciousness is never lost. So whatever endeavor we put to become Krishna conscious, to remember Krishna, that endeavor is never lost. That remains always with us. Therefore you see many times when we introduce Krishna consciousness to somebody takes very quickly, immediately picks the book, Bhagavad Gita, starts reading it and becomes nice devotee, joins full time and starts preaching also within a matter of 2-3 months. Why? Because he had carried something from the past. Automatically he got attracted. Never had any question about soul, never had any question about God exists or not. Immediately accepted. Right? And some person, he comes, gives tough time. I don't think God exists. I don't think soul exists. So he's just a beginner. He doesn't have some knowledge. Otherwise, how do you explain that? One person takes 6 months to come to a stage where he can start preaching. Somebody takes 6 years and still he cannot preach. He cannot even, himself have conviction in Krishna consciousness. So how is it? So somebody has some previous impressions which immediately makes sense to him. Immediately makes sense, because he has that previous remembrance. And Krishna, he, as Paramatma from within, reminds him all the previous knowledge.
What about non-human forms of life?
Sorry?
What about non-human forms of life?
Non-human forms of life.
The soul is going through all these 8 million foreign thousand species, 8 million species, and it's not learning anything. I mean, if it's not remembering, the dog doesn't remember when it was a cockroach or something like that. So where's the, what's the, it seems like, is that just out and out punishment, or is there supposed to be something?
In any species of life, if a living entity hears the holy name, hears the name of Krishna, that is an eternal asset. So just rest assured, even the plants and trees we have outside of the temple, when we do kirtan, when they hear the names of Krishna, that is actually increasing their bank balance, spiritual bank balance, which will, when they leave this body and take another birth, will actually make natural for them to be attracted to kirtan. It'll be natural for them to be attracted to kirtan. That's what actually Haridas Thakur told Lord Chaitanya, that when somebody chants loudly the names of Krishna, even the moving creepers, trees and creepers who cannot move, what to speak of movable living entities like animals or birds, even the trees and creepers who cannot move, even they get benefited simply by hearing the holy name of Krishna. So especially Sankirtan is something which is very beneficial for everyone. For animals who don't understand anything. Prabhupada says even a dog can participate. Right? And that famous purport of holy name of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Prabhupada says, this Krishna consciousness movement is so sublime, even a dog can participate. That means even a dog can hear Hare Krishna and participate in that way. And that will be spiritual advancement for the dog.
Okay, another one. I've listened to a lot of Prabhupada's lectures, and the overwhelming impression I get is that if somebody's a human form of life and they don't engage in devotional service, then very good chance that they're going to lose the human form of life, especially now in Kali Yuga, Kali-eration, it's an ocean of faults. If they're not engaged in devotional service, they're not performing work done to satisfy Vishnu, they're just incurring karma at every second. So they lose the human form of life. And they might really go down pretty low on the evolutionary scale there. It doesn't seem very, once again, doesn't seem very merciful. In other words, we hear how Lord Chaitanya is the most magnanimous incarnation, his mercy is very easily achieved. But that's at the same time, sometimes I feel like, well, wait a second, here's these people. I'm a Sankirtan devotee. I go out pretty much every day and try to distribute books. And, at face value, these people, I'm dealing mostly with college students. That's where I try to distribute books at college campuses, university campuses. And they seem like nice enough kids, A lot of them, some take books, but some don't. A lot of them don't. And I'm just thinking, wow, and what if this person doesn't take a book? He didn't take a book today. What if he doesn't take a book anytime during this lifetime? That person's going to lose the human form of life. He's going to go way down there into the evolutionary, might be a worm in the stool or something like that, or something quite low. And then it's going to take him millions of years before he comes back to the human form of life. I suppose it's better than being damned to burn in hell eternally, but it's still pretty severe, And, just kind of sometimes it's just the whole thing of, wait a second, where's the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? Lord Chaitanya is supposed to be, as I mentioned, the most magnanimous incarnation. His mercy is very easily achieved. Sometimes it seems like it's kind of too strict and too hard, But I know that's crazy. You can't, it's crazy to think, as a devotee, it's crazy to think, because it's almost like saying, Lord Chaitanya is making a mistake, or this isn't really true, or whatever. The whole thing's just, so how do I understand this? Because that's the feeling I get sometimes, that it sounds like it's too strict. It doesn't seem like the mercy is being even liberally enough distributed. I've seen over the years of attempting to be a devotee, I've seen a lot of devotees come and go, and some of them who I've seen seem to really, they seem like they were trying. They were chanting, and they were really, it seems like I know a lot of devotees who seem to me that they put a lot of effort into trying to surrender to Krishna, and they're not around. Didn't make it, didn't work. They're not here among us now practicing devotees. So, it's a doubt that floats around in my head sometimes that, wait, what's going on here? What's you get the gist of what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Now see, you're talking about the people who do not accept Krishna consciousness.
They don't engage in any devotional service. There's no question that the nahabi krama-nastosti, they don't even do nothing, okay? They just.
But see, my experience is I have seen even some people who even so-called accept devotional service, but just to make a show of it. I've seen people like that in my life. They put tilak, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, people in Kali Yuga, they will put tilak on their head, put kanthi mala around their neck, they will have jap mala in their hands. But secretly, Kali Chela, they will secretly engage in sinful and heinous activity. I've seen people like that, And that's actually much, much more pitiable. They have accepted, to make a show, they even chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? But do you think they are really advancing in Krishna consciousness? No. According to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they are preparing themselves to such a serious condition of life that they will be suffering much, much more intensely than a low-class meat-eater and drunkard and a person who simply engages in sinful activities. Because Krishna becomes much, much more angry with them. And they are chanting with offensive mentality. That I'm chanting Hare Krishna, I can do any nonsense. Which is one of the severe offense. Namna yasya baladahi papa buddhi. To chant the names of Krishna with sinful consciousness that I'll be freed from all the sins. I can just go on chanting. So, we should know that the mercy of Lord Chaitanya is available to all the people who are simply willing to accept it. Willingness to accept it. There is no if and buts. Anyone who's willing to accept it. And what are the meaning of accepting it? That means simply chant the names of Krishna without duplicity, without hypocrisy. That's it. Simply chant the name of Krishna. I am sinful. I am not able to give up sinful activities, but I will not give up your name. With this sincerity, a person who's chanting the names of Krishna, not posing himself, I'm a big leader, I'm following the rules and regulation, and secretly engaging in sinful activities. Actually, Advaita Acharya told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my dear Lord, when Lord Chaitanya was giving benedictions to all the devotees, he said, this is the benediction I want, that you should distribute your mercy to everyone, except the people who are too proud, people who are duplicitous. They should not receive your mercy. Lord Chaitanya said, all right, I give this benediction to you. So Advaita Acharya asked this benediction from Lord Chaitanya.
In Chaitanya Bhagavat?
In Chaitanya Bhagavat, yes. Especially I think this is when Lord Chaitanya was giving benedictions to all the devotees during Satapraharya Leela. If not that time, maybe after Lord Chaitanya punished Advaita Acharya, in Shantipur, when he was preaching Yoga Vashidya, one of the two pastimes. At the end, he's giving benedictions to Advaita Acharya. And Advaita Acharya says, people who are proud of their birth or high learning or anything they possess, and people who are duplicitous should not receive your mercy. And Lord Chaitanya said, yes. So people who are studying in the university and they are proud that, I have so much high learning. What these Hare Krishna people are, they are all just nonsense. He will never receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So, a person who's proud and who's duplicitous, he will never attain the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And which is actually so assuring. Just imagine a person who's proud. He goes back home, back to Godhead. He'll be more miserable there, right? Seeing Krishna being worshipped, everybody is loving Krishna, everybody worships Krishna, and he's proud, he's thinking, I need to be worshipped. What is the pride? Pride means I need to be worshipped. I should be in the center of everything, right? So if he goes back home, back to God, he'll be more miserable. So that's mercy of Krishna, he keeps him here. You remain eternally here, bound in the cycle of birth and death. And similarly, a person who's duplicitous, what to speak of spiritual world, even in this material world, duplicitous people are always miserable. Always fearful, always afraid of being exposed, because they are duplicitous, right? So they are miserable in this world, and even in next life, they will continue to be miserable. So the only qualification a person needs to receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya is accepting the holy name of Krishna without duplicity. Sincerely chant the names of Krishna, and mercy of Lord Chaitanya will be available for anyone and everyone. The very fact a person is not able to accept it should know that he has one of the faults. Either he's too much proud or he's duplicitous. It's bound to be there, one of the two. Because this is the only exception, a person who will not receive the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, according to scriptures, of course.
So if a devotee feels frustrated that the Krishna conscious movement is not spreading rapidly enough, at least he can be confident that it's 100% not the fault of Lord Chaitanya. It's just that these people are just very stubbornly proud and very stubbornly duplicitous.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the mercy is there, it's available.
Mercy is there, it's available for everyone. In fact, in Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya opens the door to spiritual world wide open. But nobody wants to go on that road. It's wide open. The gate is wide open to the spiritual world in the Kali Yuga. But the unfortunate living entities of Kali Yuga don't want to go there.
Like the owls, they don't want to come
Yeah.
Here's a little technical question. You mentioned about in the Battle of Kurukshetra there were 18 Akshohinis.
Yeah.
There's definitely a purport in the first canto where Prabhupada mentions about, I think it's 640 million people were
Yes.
killed in 18 days.
Yes.
So how do you, that's way more than 18 Akshohinis, so how do you...
See,
What's
18 Akshoni, if you divide it in the way with 640 million people, that gives you the number of people in each Akshoni division. No. I'm not really... I know Mahabharata gives the exact definition of what Akshoni division is, how many soldiers on foot, how many soldiers on elephant and chariot. If you put together, that'll give you one Akshoni division. So 640 million people, if you divide them with 18, that'll give you people in one Akshoni division.
Oh, did somebody do the math and that's correct?
Yes. That's exact exact numbering is given in the Mahabharata. What is one Akshoni division? So, just to summarize, I will say there are some of the examples or some of the experiences which I went through of the uses of these different sciences. I'll just try to quote, and I hope if that gives insight and inspiration to make use of these science. I'll just tell you, we're talking about, say, marriage alliance, right? So I remember one devotee from Mumbai. It so happened that one girl and boy, they got married. That was an arranged marriage by the devotees, And in very short time after marriage, the boy died, And there was a death of the boy. And this devotee, he took the horoscope of the boy and girl. The girl who was now a widow and the boy who already died, her husband. He took that to the astrologer. And he showed the astrologer saying that we want to marry these two, this boy and girl. Can you just give your opinion? Just wanted to check. So the astrologer said, it's not a good alliance. If they get married, the boy will die in a short while after the marriage. So that was like a shocking thing for this devotee. Oh, it had something to do with the marriage. He said, yes, if this boy gets married to this girl, he will die in a short while after the marriage. So that was actually a good usage. This devotee indicated that this is a good use of astrology. You can actually avoid such occurrences, Because there are certain activities that we do which cause, in Sanskrit they call it akala mrityu. Like when we dig Charnamrita, we sing this prayer. Akala mrityu haranam sarva vyadhi vinashanam Vishnu padatakam pitva punarjanmana vidyate. When you drink Charnamrit, it removes the scope of akala mrityu. What is the meaning of akala mrityu? Generally we hear that, everybody's time of death is designated, right? But there is some concept in Sanskrit, in Vedic terminology called akala mrityu, means untimely death. The person was not supposed to die, but he died because of some mistake or some drastic thing he did. Like Hiranyakashipu, he was trying to torture Prahlad, So Bhagavatam explains, troubling a great soul or Mahabhagavat Vaishnavas is a cause of akala mrityu, is a cause of untimely death. It reduces the lifespan of a person. Even if he's not supposed to die at time, he ends up in losing his life early. So similarly, there are certain activities in terms of astrology or in terms of Vastu or even in terms of Ayurveda. If you do something in this lifetime, that cuts down the lifespan of you. So similarly, marriage with certain personalities is completely forbidden in astrology. If a person does, without considering that fact, it could actually cut down the lifespan of the person. No. And I remember we had one family astrologer in India who died last year actually. But he saved us from, because astrology is for what? It's not for our day-to-day work, but it's for major things in your life. Prabhupada mentions that whenever you have some major thing, major change in life, you take the help of astrology. No? Not that what should I cook today? Is it a good time to start cooking? No, not for that purpose. Astrology is for, say, for the purpose of some major change in your life. You're getting married. It's a major change in your life. Or you're moving from one place to another place. Permanent settlement. It's a change in life. Or moving from one country to another country is a change in life. So you take help from astrology. So similarly, we were trying to invest. I remember it was almost like 6 years ago. We were trying to invest in some business with some devotee. Some devotee asked us actually that, please invest with us in some business venture. So my wife called this astrologer, said, is it a good thing to us to invest? I want you to do some prashna. So next day, this astrologer, when she called, he said, don't invest a single penny, because the person with whom you're trying to do the partnership, in less than 6 months, he will file for bankruptcy for his business, in less than 6 months. And his wife will divorce him, and all the negative things will happen in his life. So we're thinking, how is it? That is going to happen, because this devotee seemed very stable in life. His wife was good with him and everything was perfect. But sure enough, in less than 5 months that happened. Not even 6 months, less than 5 months that happened. His wife filed for the divorce. And he filed for bankruptcy. His business was closed down. Yes.
Is it that anybody can be an astrologer? I mean, don't you have to be like a really specially qualified person to be? Just like in anything, I mean, there are cooks and there are cooks. There are book distributors and there are people who give class. And so it must be not anybody.
Yes, not anybody. Just like, is anybody can be doctor? No. Can anybody be a lawyer? No. You have to study. You have to have that intellectual capacity to study and grasp the subject matter. And actually speaking, people think astrology is a mystical science. No. According to Vedas, astrology is nothing but mathematics.
So how can you tell if somebody is really a good astrologer or not, really is worth consulting?
Yes, there are. See, it's not that we don't have, but if you keep the eyes and ears open, you find good ones. You find the good ones. It's my experience that yes, we had this family astrologer which was extremely good. And how do you find whether a person is good or not? I'll say there is no hard and fast rule, but first and foremost thing I'll say, a good astrologer means he won't charge any money. If he asks for money for his consultation, even if he's a devotee or whomever he is, if he's asking for money, all his predictions are null and void. Even if he's able to predict perfectly right, most of people will say, oh, we have very good experience with him. He perfectly predicted. But a Brahmana means he's supposed to offer his services free of cost. And for his livelihood, if he doesn't get any donations, then he goes for begging. Or he does something else, some business or something. But when you're using the Vedic science for the sake of earning money, because actually speaking, astrology is a mathematics, you do the perfect mathematical calculations, but there are so many combination of mathematics calculation you have to keep in account that you can forget something. And if you forget one aspect, you can actually end up in giving wrong predictions. And how can you remember everything? Again, remembrance. Krishna has to give you the remembrance. And if a person is money-minded, His focus is, oh, this person is going to give me $500 for counseling, therefore I should be precise. Then there's no connection with Paramatma. The Brahmana's mentality used to be, this person has come to me, Krishna, God has sent him to me, it's my duty to serve him. It's my duty to give him right guidance. That used to be the consciousness of a good astrologer. I remember our family astrologer, he never charged any money from us. I'm talking about, I started taking guidance from him almost 12 years ago. I didn't have any money that time. I was just come out from Brahmacharya ashram. He never asked any money. And even after coming to US, he was always available on the phone, giving guidance. Always. Of course, he passed away last year, but he was really good help. He never asked money. But we used to give him out of obligation. We'll give some donation. It's a duty of every person not to simply take services from Brahmanas, but to give charity to Brahmanas, in return. Whatever you can afford to, you offer. That's a culture. But Brahmana never asked the money. So this is the one and first and foremost criteria. When a person doesn't have any monetary or any expectation from you, and is still willing to go ahead and help you, that means he will actually try to do the best job. He's really sincerely trying to offer help. That's the one thing. Of course, that's not necessarily the only qualification. The person has to have good grasping capacity as well. And that you see over a period of time, number of years, how the person is predicting. And also, you see the lifestyle of the person. What kind of lifestyle he's living, as we said. Shamo, Damo, Tapa, Shauchas. He's living the life of sense control. Not a drunkard or meat eater. He's living that lifestyle. Then you take the guidance from him.
He should be living a Brahminical lifestyle.
He should be living a Brahminical lifestyle.
It's the work of a Brahmin,
yes,
in other words.
Yes. Not that he's a meat eater or drunkard. Then his predictions will not have impact on anyone's life. Because even the Brahmana who is a guru, like say Shukracharya, he's a guru of demons, he still lives the Brahminical life. He's very rigidly austere, and sense control, and in fact, in many things he's better than the guru of gods, Brahaspatis, So Brahmana means he has to be austere. Even if he belongs to, say demoniac nature or whatever nature, he may be, believing only in sense enjoyment. He may not be necessarily a devotee, but he lives a Brahminical life. Lives a Brahminical life. Then only you can expect. And especially if you have a devotee who's good at astrology, that's the best guidance he can provide, because he will push a person to go back home, back to Godhead. Give guidance according to, that goal in the life, that you go back home, back to Godhead. Similarly, I remember one lady, she approached me asking about some marriage alliance. Some man had approached her for marriage, and I didn't find it good. I said, no, this is not a good alliance. Then still she was not convinced, so I referred her to the astrologer we had in India. I said, you can ask him, So she contacted him, and he was so good. He not only looked at the horoscope, but he told the lady that this person who has approached you for marriage is highly corrupt in character, practically like a debauchee. And soon he will bring you a very costly gift. So be careful, don't accept the gift from him, or you'll be entangled with him. He's not a fit person to have anything to do with. Just maintain distance from him. And sure enough, in 2 days, the person brought a precious ring to that lady. Diamond ring. It had a price tag also, $9,999. He didn't even remove the price tag, giving the precious gift. So she was already knowing, because she was told by the astrologer. So she said, you don't even have manners. You offer a gift with price tag. Just take it. I don't want it from you. But there are people like that in this world. And actually I remember Srila Prabhupada in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Sanatana Goswami is traveling, being released from imprisonment, he's traveling to Varanasi to meet Lord Chaitanya. He comes to this lodge or motel where the lodge keeper, the lodge owner, was actually a dacoit. And he had an astrologer with him. So the astrologer told him that this person has 8 gold coins. So this hotel owner was so good with Sanatana Goswami. And Sanatana Goswami was a minister. He knew the diplomacy and politics. He said, why this person is so good with me? There's something wrong. So he asked his servant Ishan, do you have any gold with you? He said, yes, I have 7 gold coins. He said, why the hell you are carrying this death nail with you? Give me all the coins. He took all the gold coins and he went to the hotel keeper. Sir, I have these 7 gold coins. Please accept it. And the hotel owner became very happy. He said, actually my astrologer told me that you have 8 gold coins. He mentioned, Sanatana Goswami was told by the servant that he had 7. But he said, my astrologer told me that you have 8 gold coins and I was thinking to kill you tonight and take away money from you. Good that you offered me. You can keep the gold also, but I'll help you also to pass through this. He said, no, please, you take this. If you don't take, then somebody else will kill me to take these. So you take these gold. And then Sanatana Goswami went back to servant. He said, you still have 1 gold coin? Because he heard from the hotel keeper, he said 8 gold coins. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport there, astrology is such a wonderful science. Even a dacoit would take the help from astrologer for plundering. Of course, people can use or misuse always, that's science. Again, science is a skill, I said, tool, which can be used or misused. So astrology is also a science which can be misused.
So what do you think Prabhupada's overall position was? Because there are purports where Prabhupada strongly advocates the importance of the astrological science. Prabhupada himself used astrology, even towards the end of his life. If you read that book, TKG's Diary, Prabhupada was consulting astrology. I don't know how seriously, but sometimes he was consulting. He was having devotees about health issues.
Yes.
But then there's letters where Prabhupada discouraged devotees themselves from, getting involved with astrology. He said, we have nothing to do with this. And as soon as you clap your hands in front of the deities, all the lines of your hands change. There's definitely at least a few letters to that effect, where Prabhupada is clearly and strongly discouraging devotees from getting, involved with astrology. So how do you put it all together? What's your,
Okay, now I did actually a research on this. If you just go into the Veda base and type astrology keyword, you'll find maybe 5 to 6 negative comments by Srila Prabhupada, but you'll find more than 40 comments where Prabhupada emphasizes on astrology, use of astrology in the culture. Now you have to understand, when Prabhupada makes the statement that we don't have to use, it depends on situation, where the devotees are being too much carried away. Like I've seen people, they won't step out of the home to go to work unless it is a good time. Oh, today is Rahu Kalam starting this time, that time. It'll drive you nuts. It makes you practically paralyzed. Now, Jyotish or the astrology is not meant to make you paralyzed. It's meant to empower you. Empower you in life. So a person becoming more and more dependent on it to the extent that he becomes paralyzed is not recommended. So when Prabhupada, he's Acharya, world Acharya, when he would have seen that people, becoming too much dragged in that direction, he'd say, no, you don't have to. Prabhupada even makes a mention. One particular conversation, Prabhupada says, what is astrology? He said, a person is sitting on the branch of the tree and he's cutting the branch. And somebody says, hey, you will fall down. Don't keep cutting the branch. And the person keeps still cutting the branch and he falls down. He says, oh, this person is astrologer. He knows that I will fall down. No. So Prabhupada, in one way discourages it that, you don't really need to know. If you have common sense, you know that this is right or this is wrong. But actually speaking, without having the access to the Vedic calendar, we don't even know what is good and what is bad, what is auspicious, we have such a mechanical calendar, right? That we follow. Today is 1st October, 2nd October, or 12th October, which has nothing to do with the constellation and stars. I remember in my childhood, my mother, all she knew was only Vedic calendar. She never knew it. She had such difficulty in understanding English calendar. She never understood English calendar. She would ask us, okay, what is the English date today? She couldn't understand. And I was thinking, I had difficulty in understanding what she was saying. Oh, today is the Amavasya. Or today is the Ekadashi. Today is Dvadashi. Trayodasi. I say, how do you know this? What is Ekadashi, Dvadashi? That's all she could follow. Perfectly. She could keep track of that. We didn't have any Vedic calendar in our home to see that, okay, which date today or which tithi is today. No. She could perfectly follow that tithi. So it's just a lifestyle. She was trained in that lifestyle that, okay, today is this tithi, that tithi. So, like many devotees, they feel amazed. Prabhupada would never travel on Thursday, right? You heard that? Many devotees say, oh, Prabhupada would never travel on Thursday. You shouldn't travel on Thursday. But in our home, that was normal. We would never start a journey on Thursday. We never cut the hair on Thursday. We never cut the nails on Thursday. It was common. It was a lifestyle. That's how I was brought up in my family, right? So there are some days, some tithis, you're forbidden certain things to do, you know.
Tithi is not from sunrise to sunset, is it? What exactly
Tithi is like Ekadashi is a tithi. Dwadashi is a tithi. Trayodashi is a tithi.
What does it exactly mean? What is the definition of tithi?
Tithi means date. In English translation, you'll say it's a date. So say Ekadashi is the 11th day. Ekadashi means 11th. Eka, Dasha. Eka means 1 and Dasha means 10.
What's the time period?
Yeah.
When does it start?
It's a date. It's a date. 11th day of the moon. 12th day of the moon. It's connected to the moon. You know, so waxing or waning moon. So you say Ekadashi means it's the 11th day of the waxing or waning moon, depending on the paksha, which paksha it is. You know? So it's just a lifestyle, you know. If you have the lifestyle, like say, okay, today, Saturday, Sunday, everything will be closed. All the government offices will be closed. We cannot do anything today. So similarly, in Vedic culture, today is Ekadashi. You know, how can you do, any nonsensical activity? All you have to do is just chant more today. Today is Ekadashi, you know. I know from childhood we used to keep fast of Ekadashi. We would not eat on Ekadashi any grains and all. It's not only after coming to ISKCON movement. We used to follow, always. Eating, avoiding grains and beans on Ekadashi day. So it's just lifestyle. So all we need to do is just revive that lifestyle. The culture of Krishna consciousness. It's actually highly conducive. Prabhupada gave minimum whatever was essential, very much essential. But Varnashram, he expressed towards the end of his life that he wanted to establish Varnashram. And Prabhupada actually said, I have established Krishna consciousness movement, that's my 50% work. The remaining 50% is to establish Varnashram. That means Prabhupada gave credentials to Varnashram to be the 50% of his mission. And what is Varnashram? Varnashram means living as per the Varna and Ashram. Living under the guidance of Brahmanical culture.
Do you think that statement was meant to apply or to refer to his disciples? Because, it doesn't sound like, I guess ideally he would like to introduce Varnashram worldwide, but we weren't even able to introduce the chanting of Hare Krishna, worldwide on a very large scale basis. Varnashram is so much more technical, and you think he was just referring to as the people who are already devotees, that he wanted them now to become more
not only devotees, because see, Varnashram is something for the society at large. We understand one thing, that don't expect that all the people in this world will become devotees. All the administrators of the different countries will become devotees. All the politicians will become... No, it's not going to happen. But if they are in the realm of Varnashram, that means if they are taking guidance from devotee Brahmanas, they will do good to the society. At least they will do good to the society. They will uplift the consciousness of the world. So Varnashram is very much essential in our society, ISKCON society, but it is meant for the society at large.
But you mentioned that you just moved here to the West Coast very recently.
Yeah.
In the beginning of this month.
Yeah.
Is this your first time speaking here?
Sorry?
Is this your first? Because I'm from Los Angeles. I'm from New Dwarka. Is this your first time speaking here?
Yeah, this is the first time I'm giving.
Maybe you should introduce yourself and everything, because I was here from the beginning of the class, and perhaps some of the people who are listening don't even. You could
And I'm
say something about yourself.
I'm Sankarananda, and I was introduced to Krishna consciousness in 92, 93 in Mumbai, and I joined there as full-time in 95 as a brahmachari and stayed there for 6 years till 2001.
Jew temple or Chapati?
Chapati temple, Girgaon Chapati.
So you're a disciple of Radhanath Maharaj?
Yes, I was initiated by His Holiness Varnasrama Maharaj in 95. And 2001 I got married, and 2004 I came to US, and I stayed in New Vrindavan for almost 9.5 years. So I moved from New Vrindavan to West Coast this month, beginning of this month.
So, and your family background was you're from? It sounded like you're from a Vaishnava family, or is it just a Brahmin family or Vaishnava?
No, not really. I'll say I was from a Vaishya family. My grandfather was a Vaishya. He had a big farmland in Pakistan, in Indus Valley, near Indus Valley. And after the partition, when India and Pakistan were partitioned in 1948, my parents and grandparents, they all moved from Pakistan to India, to Mumbai. Yeah. So they would follow the principles of Vaishnava life, mostly, And my uncle and my uncles and my father, they, after coming to India, got in some bad association. They started eating meat and all, but otherwise they never ate meat and everything in their family traditions. So otherwise, even my father told me he ate meat for maybe few years and then he gave it up. He didn't like it. For a few years, because of bad association, he continued, but then we stopped in our home also. So we used to follow certain principles.
Have your parents become more serious devotees since you became a devotee, or are they still with us?
No. They were not really into devotional service, but they were living typical, lifestyle of worshipping certain demigods. Not really. We never worshipped Krishna or Vishnu in our home. Mostly worship of Lord Shiva.
Nice.
So I was introduced to Vaishnava principles only through Prabhupada's mercy. And the followers of Prabhupada.
Yeah.
So I think we'll stop here. It's almost 10:15 now. We'll have Guru Puja.
Thank you. Beautiful class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Vandamohi Sabadhana Mate Vandamohi Sabadhana Vandamohi Savadhana Mate Vandamohi Savadhana Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatariya Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatariya Krishna Prapti Hai Jaham Haite Krishna Prapti Hai Jaham Haite Guru Mukha Padma Vakyam Chittete Koriyaikya Guru Mukha Padma Vakyam Chittete Koriyaikya Arna Koriyamane Asha na kori hamane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Se Uttama Gati E Prasade Pure Sarvam Asha E Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Chakudan dilo jehi janme janme Prabhu se Chakudan dilo jehi janme janme Prabhu se Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita Prema Bhakti Jahoite Avidya Vinashayate Prema Bhakti Jahoite Avidya Vinashayate Vedigai Jahara Charito Vedigai Jahara Charito Vedigai Jahara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana La Prabhupada Lokera Jivana ha Prabhu karo daya, deho more pada chaya, Prabhu karo daya, deho more pada chaya, ha Prabhu karo daya, deho more pada chaya, ha Prabhu karo daya, deho more pada chaya. Ebejas gushuk tribhuvana, ebejas gushuk tribhuvana, Shila Prabhupada patita pavana, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhu, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namah. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Sri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namaste Ani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadha Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jai Radha Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Nitai Gaura Haribol 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 Nitai Gaura Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you, Sankarananda Prabhu, for a wonderful lecture today. I heard from one Mataji from kitchen that the lecture was very good. Thank you. And it's your first lecture here. Congratulations. Prasadam will be served in the one of the inner rooms there, just after the Prasadam prayers. So someone can lead the Prasadam prayers.
Vile Bashaya Sagare Taramajivayati Lobamoesadomati Takechita Katina Samsare Krishna Badadayamoy Kadibada Jivajay Swaprashadana Delobai Sayanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagal Vimedako Shitatanitai Shri Shri Radha Madhan Mohan Mahabhagavat Prasadam Ki Jai.
We also thank everyone who have joined us online. Thank you for joining us, and we will again be going live tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. in the evening. Hare Krishna. Yes, now we can stop.